Good morning. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Dankie vir die geleentheid hier en mense van Samuel as 'n voorraad op julle ouens. My name is Plessis. I'm the area manager for Voermol feeds in the Eastern region. I live in Howick, but I grew up with John Brangus. My brother is his neighbor there in Proofley. So yeah, it's a privilege to be here. It's a beautiful setting, and it's so nice to chat with you guys under these circumstances. We're probably having one of the best seasons in a long time. The capital is looking phenomenally, that I've seen. And you know, with the season we're having, it's an ideal time to chat a bit about where we are, what we're doing, and how we're going to go ahead for the next few months, and what we're going to do. So I'm just going to talk to you about, Angus said the day is to a taal up, so the slides are in Afrikaans. I'll chat in English. If there's anybody who doesn't understand anything, please just ask a question, interrupt me at any time. So I'm so glad that Dr. Johan and Peter spoke before me, because they touched on a lot of things that I'm going to talk about. Peter especially, you know, we are in the business of relationship building. We don't sell lick. We do what we do because we want to add value, maximum value to what you do on the farm. If I just going to sell lick, you know, go and buy from the opposition. We're there to really add value. If you want to save money, that's not what we do. We're there to make money for you. Utilize what you have on the farm to its best capacity, to making the most of it. That's in essence what we do. So we build relationships, and it was interesting listening to Peter's talk, because that's what it's all about. That's what we're all in business of. We want to build relationships with people so they come back and buy our bulls and come back and do business with us again in the year after year after year. So I was listening to I think he's an Indian yogi, Gopalal is his surname. I'm not sure, I can't remember what his name was. And there's also a study from Harvard University, which is the oldest study about happiness in the world. You can go and Google it. It's been started in the early 1900s, and they've got collectively over 700 years of data which they collected. And the only thing that makes people truly happy is the strength of the relationships that they have with other people. Money and all the other stuff comes far down the line. The only thing that makes us really happy is the strength of the relationships that we build through life. So Peter, thank you for your project. So just to start off, we're just going to look at the bigger picture that as far as animal feeds are concerned. So annually, a cow of 450 kgs consumes about 3.65 tons a year of feed a year. Of that, about 140 kgs comes in the form of supplements and licks. Where your winterlac is the most, 125 kilograms, and your minerals and trace minerals, which is your phosphates and all that stuff, about 15 kgs. There's only 3.4 to 4.4% of your total feed intake a year comes from your supplements and your licks. Okay, the biggest asset that we have on the farm, obviously, is the grazing that we have, the natural grazing. And you want to utilize that to the maximum capacity. When you make as much out of that as we can. And that's why we advocate a season's rest as much as we can. Why do we advocate the season's rest? First of all, it's to help the plant seed itself better, to help the plant develop better, to have spare grazing in the winter time, also to help with the reserves of the plant. I don't know if you've seen that slide that Hendrik from Plessis used to have, where they did a cut in the grass to show you the different grasses that's been grazed and rested over years, and how big a difference it makes in the root capacity of the grass if it's been rested for a year. Okay, this is just a table to show you what the effect is of a resting season. Now, when I say a resting season, it means resting your grazing from October until middle of April for the whole growing season. Okay, so this is just a slide to show you what the effect of that is. And if you look there at Reuters, after a resting season, the kilograms per hectare it produces compared to when you've grazed that same camp. Okay, we always talk about developing the natural resources of our grass, and this is just an interesting sorry, the slide's a bit high, they're very interesting slide. That hectare has been camped off and hasn't been grazed or burnt for 38 years. That was at Nooitgedag farm near Ermelo. And that's what eventually happens to the grass if we don't look after it. Okay. When we talk about managing or looking or thinking about what lick we're going to give, when we're going to give it, and the management we're going to look at, there's certain aspects we're going to take into account. Okay? Although your intake of lick only makes out 3.4 to 4.4% of your total feed intake, it makes out about 30% of your total cost. So it's worth looking at it, planning it, and making sure that you're giving the right lick at the right time when the cow's in the correct production cycle. Okay, with licks, we want to make sure, like I said, that we target that specific production cycle at the right time of the year with the correct lick. Dr. Johan mentioned about the having a breeding season and shortening that breeding season. And that's specifically to talk about focusing your attention and the finances you have in a specific time to make sure you meet the specific need of the cow in that time. Okay, and when we talk about a lick, whether it's a winter lick or a summer lick or a production lick or a mineral lick, we make sure that the nutrient ingredient in that lick is correctly formulated to meet the need that you have at this specific time. Okay, we always sometimes look at the genetic value of our animals. We go and we buy an expensive bull. We've got a best genetic potential, but we don't fully develop that potential because we don't look after his nutritional needs. Okay, a top producing cow is a cow that can calf every year, and that can wean a calf of more than 50% of our own body weight every year. Okay, how much lick does an animal need? That depends on the time of the year, the production cycle, say, season, whether you have a short breeding season or a long breeding season, how it depends from breed to breed. So it's all things we need to take into account when we plan for the year ahead. The next thing I'd like to focus on is trace minerals. And specifically in the time that we are now, in the summer season, trace minerals is the aspect which we need to focus on when we're talking about summer supplementation and late summer supplementation. Now this is not it's a very intricate way in which these trace minerals interact with each other. So it's not always about having too much of one or too less of the other one, but they interact with each other. So, for instance, too high levels of calcium in your water would inhibit the uptake of selenium and zinc, which is crucial to your reproduction cycle. So the next slide shows that how these interactions work between the absorption from trace minerals. As I said, calcium has an effect on zinc and copper. Sulfur has an effect on the intake of selenium and copper. So when we look at these things, it's crucial that we make sure we know what the status in our farms are, and for that you'll have to get your vet and your medicine company involved, and that we top it up in the right time with a great supplementation. I've already touched on that and the influence that sulfur would have on the absorption of other trace minerals. Okay, do we use a self-mixing lick or do we buy a ready-mix lick? And that's all things that you need to take into account when you do your planning for the year ahead. You have to look at the costs involved. You have to look at your infrastructure, whether you have the correct mixers or not, the raw materials that you've got, whether you have control to make sure that the mixing is done correctly. And then also something that you all lose out of sight sometimes is the cost involved of milling maize and mixing the feed. Okay, at the moment we're in the late summer. We've got another month and a half, 2 months left before the first frost. Some areas are a little bit earlier than others, and we want to try and focus at this stage to make sure that we carry the good condition that we have at the moment as far into the winter as possible. Okay, most of your cows will be hopefully be pregnant by now. The bulls will have just come out, or is just coming out, and you want to keep that condition that they have for as long as possible into the winter. Not only is it cost effective, but it'll save you money in the winter, because that's when you're expensive to get a cow from a low body condition scoring, what Dr. Johan talked about earlier, to where she's got a calf, is going to cost you a lot more money if you don't do your homework at the moment. So if we focus a little bit on that at the moment, because that's the season we're in, we've got a phenomenal season this year. The climate is fantastic. The animals are looking exceptional. So we want to try and, with the current conditions and the high prices, we're all in for a good season and a good year. We want to try and focus to use the grass that we have for as long as possible. Okay, the critical aspects that we're going to look at the moment is supplementing our trace minerals and our minerals, phosphates, and all the trace minerals, zinc, selenium, copper, iodine, manganese, which are all crucial for reproduction later in the year. And in Voermol, and the reason why we do this at the moment is not only more cost effective, but the reaction of your animal is so much better than trying to rectify that later in the winter time. And the reason for that is the quality of the grass that you have at the moment. It's like having your vodka with a Red Bull and not with a Coke or water. Okay. So the two products that we are going to focus on at the moment is our Phosphate Block and Supplementation. Now the reason I put Phosphate Block on there is, you might know, as we do, that there's a shortage of phosphorus acid at the moment, so we're all struggling to get P6 and P12 at the moment. And we feel that Phosphate Block is actually a better product, which I'll explain to you now. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that, and then I'm going to talk about probably one of our best products available, Voermol, which you have to give to your higher producing animals. So if you look at Phosphate Block firstly, that's the composition. And I want to focus your attention on the trace mineral side there and the high levels of that. Now, Phosphate Block, for us, because of the high trace mineral values that they have, is a far better option than just putting plain P6 or P12 and salt to animals. And the reason for that, first of all, is the intakes are better because it's molasses based. It's a little bit rain resistant, and as far as costs are concerned, it only works out between 25 and 30 rands per cow over your whole summer season. Now, if you convert that to the days you spend when you can put P12 and P6 out because of the rain or the losses you have or the lower mineral intakes that you get there, I think Phosphate Block is a much better option. The second one is what we call the Superman of Voermol Lex, is Supplementation. That's the composition of Supplementation as we know it. The intakes are between 1 kg and 1.2 kgs per day for an animal, for a cow. And once again, if you look at the trace minerals and the mineral composition of it is excellent. And these are the uses of Supplementation as we know it. Okay, it's animals with a high production or a high nutritional need to grow out your lighter weaner calves on good quality green grazing. Okay, it can be used as a what's it called? Flush feed to increase your calving percentages. Okay, it can be used on young bulls on extensive phase D testing. It can be used on your cows and calves that might not be in the great condition. You want to steam them up a bit before winter on green grazing. And it can be used to fatten weaner calves on green grazing if you mix it half and half with maize. Okay, there's a few other uses which I want to bring under your attention. To fatten up old cows, the silage. When the bulls are coming out from the cows at the end of the breeding season until the end of March, which is in the time we are now, to get them back into condition. Okay, you can use it with standing hay like sugar grass, And you can also use it on young dairy heifers, 6 to 7 months old, on green grazing. Okay, when we talk about winter supplementation and going ahead in the sort of looking at April, May. Okay, protein is obviously the aspect which we got to supplement during winter time. We're going to have the correct lick to stimulate the cow to eat more grass. We don't want animals to lay by the troughs and wait for the lick to come. Okay, so that's why we've got to watch out for too much maize or too much roughage in a lick. Okay, and we got to, let's just go back one. And we got to manage the intake of the animals. Okay, it's a question we get a lot in the field is, you know, how you put out your licks. Most farmers that I know puts up 3 times a week and calculates how much each cow is going to get per day and puts out that amount every 2 days. And if they eat everything on the first day, that's fine. At least everybody had a chance to eat or to get at the trough. But manage those intakes, because especially in our sour field areas, those intakes can run away some days, and we want to make sure they get the correct intake. Okay. Choose the most cost-effective supplement for your area. Get the agent of the company that you're dealing with onto the farm to come and have a look at your setup, what you have, what you can use as a raw material, whether you need a concentrate or a ready mix lick, whether you have sour felt or more sweet felt, whether you need a concentrate, if you're going to use your own maize or own soya oil cake or whatever. So use the knowledge and the company that you deal with, use their people. It's for free. The advice is free. You don't have to use it. At Voermol, we've got a wide range of winter licks to suit almost every production environment in the country. We've got blocks, we've got concentrates, we've got premix 450, which is our main winter lick. We've got a Conelec for your sweeter felt areas. We've got Boervelder Lek and Boervelder Lek Concentraat for the very sour field areas up the hill here, Harry Smith, Vrede, and Voermol, those areas. So contact your Voermol rep, let him come onto your farm, have a look at what you have and what your specific needs is, and planning ahead for the year to come. Okay, I said in the beginning that we're not in the business of saving you money. We're in the business of making you money. We want to build a relationship with you. We want to do business with you year after year after year. And to do that, we want to make sure we give you the best possible advice. So please use us, get the guys onto your farms, make sure they come and have a look at your animals and what you have in the farm, and do the correct planning for the winter and for the little bit of the summer that's still available to us. Thank you very much. Any questions?